Just wanted to get a pulse of the room. How many of you have been an agent less than 1 year? All right, got one. Less than 3 years. Okay, so I wanted to jump in and just talk about the listing part of it first. And before we get into idea sharing, which I'm hoping that it will be more of an idea sharing and me speaking the whole time. That's my goal at least. Is that if you do get into a listing appointment, my lessons learned actually that I've made a lot of mistakes in this is that, and if you're competing, is don't skip the details. So many of you I hear out here go to your past clients or you go to your sphere listing appointments, and we tend to just be more relaxed around them, and we tend to just kind of skip certain parts and not actually talk about your full service. And I think that it's important to have the conversations with those friends as they're thinking about selling, or if they're a past client that you help buy. But don't go into that appointment just assuming that you already have the listing, and don't go into it thinking that, hey, I can just give them a discount or they're gonna work with me automatically. Because has anybody ever walked into an appointment, done a listing appointment, and find out 4 or 5 months later that they used somebody else that you were shocked at? Happened to me, okay? So one of the things that I wanna just jump into is making sure that you go through the procedure in terms of even meeting with your past clients and making sure that you do all the necessary steps as if you were competing with 2 or 3 other agents. Because one, I think you'll earn more in terms of commission, because when you ask for that commission, then you're gonna get it most of the time. And then also you're not gonna skip steps where then they don't become your client down the road just because you were sloppy about it and you were just casual in terms of walking into a listing appointment. So, third thing in terms of competition, I just listed a house in a neighborhood that we don't really do that much business in, Mantua area. We've done a couple in there, but not that much. And I was competing against 3 other agents. Dina was my production partner who went into that appointment. And I know for a fact that the other agent, because I spoke to her, because she called me because she's a buyer's agent on one of our other listings, she lost it because of the things that she said about the other agents. Yeah. So that is like a big no-no, is that I think that I've learned over the years that if you're competing in a listing appointment, it is critical for you to compliment those people that they're interviewing. So
she was negative about
she was like, oh, why would you use them?
Okay.
They don't do that much in this area. And she knew after she said it, because she called me to apologize.
Well, that's like nice of her.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, I think it was just a realization. So here's what I think is really important in those, going into those appointments, is that you wanna compliment the other people. You wanna come off as the agent. It's gonna be amazing to work with them too. I've worked with them on a deal. It was a great sale. We were able to work together. Sellers got what they wanted, the buyers got what they wanted. And that's how I crafted it in that appointment, was just that we work really well together. And I've worked with them before. Because it's going to go a lot further than saying, hey, we sell more, this is what we do, that's different from other agents, or that agent doesn't do that. Or, hey, we've sold more, and that agent has sold a ton more in the neighborhood than I have. But I just talked about the cooperation of how we work well together. And that's just a kind of a helpful hint that I wanted to kind of jump into with that too, is that when you're competing, because we're gonna spend most of our time talking about lead generation, but I think it's important to do everything in those appointments to make sure that you're telling them the full story of what you're gonna do. And then also, if you're competing, how you're gonna work well with those agents, and you have past experience doing that with the other agents. Make sense? Mm-hmm. All right, great. I've got a ton of ideas here. So I don't wanna take over, but I wanna just hit some highlights in terms of what has worked for us. And some of these ideas we implemented 2 years ago. It took almost 2 years to see it come to fruition. And I shared some of these things before, because as I was preparing for this, I was like, oh yeah, I shared this last year, so nothing's really changed. It's just, we did it, it matured, and then it turned into listings this year. So I went back and accounted for $4.3 million in production in the first 5 months of this year, where they called me directly, and I've never spoken to them. And they called me, all of them, I went in there to list the house basically the first time I'm meeting with them. And here's how it really happened is that, does anybody remember the Zestimate that I shared with you before? Okay, so it's a really simple Zestimate, and I think I printed it out somewhere and left it somewhere so that you could see. I'm the old fashioned, remember I used to be a teacher, and we used to do handouts, right? So I'm gonna just show you what it looks like, and then there'll be samples here, I can email it to you. So it's a really simple one that I'm gonna pass around. It's a screenshot on Zillow of what their house looks like. This is stolen directly or borrowed from listingleads.com, which is Jimmy Mackin's product. And all it is a screenshot. And basically it just says, hey, I was online helping somebody and came across your house, you know, and here's what Zillow says it's worth. I have a different opinion. What do you think? I sent this to them. But the next step that we did that was a little bit different than just emailing it to them is that we took black envelopes and wrote their address with a pretty gold pen or a silver pen and mailed it to them and said, hey, in case you missed the email, I sent it to you in mail, and it had my business card in there. We also have cards in there inviting people to the seller seminar, and the listing agents that are sitting in here on the team hated me because we did about 150 each of these last year. And we did them between October and January 15th. So between those dates, we just worked on about 5 or 6 a day. We also had some virtual assistants who helped us to create these templates. And then we just printed them out and then mailed it. So if you do utilize VAs, this is an easy thing for them to create, and all you have to do is to print them out, and then you stick them in the envelope. If you have kids who want to make a few extra bucks, they could help you do these things. But the black envelopes, the gold pen, and doing that was, I know how 2 of the people reached out to me. So they came through originally just an online lead. So some of you advertise and get pay-per-click leads in there. They came into our system, never met them, never responded to phone calls, and we have ISAs who are calling these people and inviting them to our seller seminar, never responded. But we send it, and then she responded back to this email 4 months after it was sent and said, hey, can we meet? And her friend next door was selling with a different agent, and there's an agent across the street that lives across from her, and she called us. And this is a $1 million listing in Fairfax Station in the Cross Point neighborhood. So it's an easy one to do. If you wanna step up your game, and this is a little bit harder.
Hey Jay,
Yes,
who did you send that to?
anybody that's in my database that hasn't listed. So whoever entered my database, so each one of us probably have a bunch of people in there. You could send it to your past clients who were buyers, who bought with you, right? If they're more than 3 years old, they've got equity in their home, you could send it to those people. And then anybody that you've gotten in terms of online, you could also send it to expired. So all of you have these people that you can send it to. It just takes discipline and focus just to be consistent doing it.
But Jay, you didn't do a CMA, right?
That's my next step.
Okay, okay, why were the agents thinking that there was so much work? I mean,
I don't know.
sorry, ready? A CMA, yeah.
Yeah.
This one is harder.
Okay.
This next one is harder.
Jay,
Yeah.
on online leads, how did you get our address? Usually online leads is, telephone and email.
So we use Boomtown, or used to use Boomtown. We're still kind of using it because it's decent for seller lead generation. We've gone to FUB and YLoco now, but we have all of these people who've clicked on to ask for online values. and then we stay engaged with them. Some of them turn into appointments like that, and some of them we've met with in the past and they just have never sold. She came into our system 2 years ago through Boomtown.
So Boomtown gives you the address?
Gives the address, and then they also have what's called address only leads, where they go on and click and start asking for the value, and the next thing is it asks for your email address, and then they stop.
Mm.
So we have a bunch of those people. If you have some click funnels, that will ask for people go in there and they start clicking. You guys have a bunch of leads from the past that we've talked about through your advertising that you've done in the past. But any of the online leads, you get their address, then you can start doing the hard mail type of things. The next part is if you wanna go and do the actual CMA, and I call it a CMA, but it's really not. It is just a screenshot of all the sales in their neighborhood in the past year. So the next layer of it is that if you've got somebody, and you could focus your time on people that are more engaged in your database and you think that they're moving towards possibly selling, or is anybody using HomeBot or Fellow? Anybody that's asked for HomeBot home value? You could just send this, which is grabbing a screenshot of all of the sales in their neighborhood. So the same person, that was 2 years ago, this was 2 years ago, that was more recent. I just copied and pasted and put a link of all their sales in, and then I sent them a BombBomb video. And I did that for every seller in my database. That takes a lot of time. Then you print it out, then you put it in a black envelope, and then you do that. And if you've got kids, if you've got VAs, they can help. Well, the VAs can't do this because they're not gonna be sending it from overseas. But if you've got somebody and you wanna work on a project, because don't we all want more listings? Yeah.
Is that an individual video for each person?
Yeah, personalized.
Yeah.
Because if it's personalized for them, they're actually gonna listen, they're gonna remember. So BombBomb, and you guys have other ways of sending videos and things like that. So this is an easy way to be able to connect with people in such a way of people. And you can focus on people and say, hey, I wanna go after the 500,000 and more, or I wanna go after the 700,000 and more, and you just, cause your time is money, so if you've got time, and that's why we do it in the fall, because we're not selling as many, we're busy right now. So if you can think about it starting, and those are the people who are probably going to transact next year. And so we're looking for, it's a percentage game. So if you send it out to enough of the people, then they're gonna respond to it as well. And you can teach somebody to do this where you don't have to do it, but the CMAs are gonna be a little bit trickier. But if you've got a really good VA and you work with them on doing 10 of them together, they can create that for you and they can pull it, you just look at it, and then they can just send it through your FUB or whatever your CRM is, so that you can see that as well too. And then you can see how many times they've opened it and looked at it. In BombBomb, it tells you, I have people, like, I went back and looked at it, she watched this 11 times. She was just curious. And I was just telling her, hey, here are the sales in your neighborhood. I don't know what kind of upgrades that you've done, but here's the information. If you click on the link, you can see the pictures of the other homes that sold in here. Whenever your timing is right, just let me know and I can be of assistance here. That was a simple thing that I just said in that BombBomb video. And it just made it easier. Yes, doing individual videos and saying their name is really hard. But a couple of us have gotten video text from Leo Pereira. You remember that, right? If somebody's sending you that, you're gonna remember that if they say their name. So that's what's worked for us.
So Justment, you start from like September through November? And
No,
you-
we take it all the way through January
January?
15, because you wanna space it out, do about 5 a day.
Okay.
And you just keep consistent, and if you skip a day, then you do it the next day. And now, I harped on some of my agents because they were skipping a bunch of days, and then you're sitting down trying to do 25 in one day. Yeah,
So any follow-up after that? No?
nailing it,
Yeah,
that's it.
that's it?
And it does not require even texting or phone calls, they're just not ready. So like if you go in and you're just casually shopping for something, you're just not ready. But when you are a year later, they're gonna remember. Now,
What's
on
the-
top of it, yeah,
What's the time difference between step 1 of the email and then 2, the mailer?
well, we did one year, and
Okay,
then we did another one another year. So
okay,
2 different types of things.
okay.
So that's all we did on those.
So step 1, you did the email, and then a year later, you did the mailer?
No.
Oh.
So
Different.
the email and the mail pretty much go out within a
Okay.
week.
Got it.
We did the Zestimate, which is easy to do because it doesn't take that much time.
And then the
You
screenshot
can
of
teach
sales?
somebody to do it with the screenshot and then you can send it out.
Okay.
If you got kids coming home from college and they wanna do it during winter break and make $500, they could do that.
You did this estimate one first,
I did the Zestimate one first,
and then you follow up and did CMA the following year.
CMAs. Now, if you're really persistent, you could do it within 2-3 months of each other. It's just that's what we had time for. And then the other thing that we have is the seller seminar that we invite a lot of people to. So the strategy on that is some of you are living in our farm where we send direct mail. So you get our direct mail postcards every month, hopefully every month. We do EDDM. Do you guys get it every month at Fairfax Station?
Yes.
Good. I'm glad to hear that 'cause
Not
We're not
mine
ready to list it,
for a
but
while.
But like Jen and I live in Annandale, and we get it maybe every other month, even though we send it out every month. So those of you who are gonna do direct mail marketing, you don't have to do as many of an area that we do. But if you say, hey, I'm gonna do these 1,000 households that I live in that neighborhood, I don't know if I would do EDDM. The EDDM is every door direct, it's cheaper. But you just don't get it, the first class, everybody's gonna get it pretty much every month. So if you're hyper focused on one area, you can do that. But one other thing I forgot, stamps, how much is a first class stamp now?
75.
Yeah.
I don't know, 72,
So
75.
through a group of listing leads, you can get old stamps that are first class forever stamps for 17 cents each. So if you're curious, reach out to me, I'll send you the link. We tested it, it actually works. We thought it was a scam. Could be counterfeit. I think it's coming from China. But it
Now
works.
they're gonna be tears, kidding.
I hope the phone's not listening to me.
I bought it.
Is that why the post office is losing $1 billion?
I don't know. We only use it for those types of things. We do the other ones in EDDM, so. They're losing $1 billion because of all their real estate that they have in these small towns that they're trying to upkeep, so. But it's worthwhile saving money if you wanna send out a bunch of those.
So Jay, can I step back a minute?
Yeah.
In your system,
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about how you get those people. Like you do direct mail, you do
Yeah.
the seller seminar.
Yeah.
What's
So,
Boomtown do for you? Gets those addresses for you.
yeah, so you can pay Boomtown. Is anybody still on Boomtown? A lot of people have moved off of Boomtown because it's kind of antiquated and old. Yeah. But any online lead generation companies, Ylopo or who else do you have? Lofty, somebody uses Lofty, I think, in this group. What else do we have? Sierra. You're gonna get seller leads. Now, those are people who their conversion is gonna be 1 to 2%. We just have a lot of, because we go after seller leads, so we just have a lot of lead sources. It could be people you met at open houses that they just go into your system and then you're just updating them in that way. One other thing that we do, we go old school, is we just made cards and we made golden tickets to invite people to our seller seminar. And I think that some people look at how we do seller seminars and we do the 100,000 postcards every month and says, I can't match that, but hey, if you can get 6 people to a seller seminar and do it in a smaller conference room, that's a win and that's a success. But if you're scared of doing that, then turn it into a webinar. Nicole and I have been doing webinars, and we've done 3 webinars that's been focused more on commission changes. And then we do throw in like, hey, has the federal government changes impacted real estate market? We're getting fewer people to sign up, but I know personally I've had 3 people list with me because they were on the webinar and they were just asking questions about that. And if you wanna get really good on how to how to leverage that is take the webinar and make it evergreen so that they can just click on it and they can watch it. So you only have to record it once, and then it's available all the time. And I have a copy of our slides that if you're interested in trying to jump into doing that, I have a copy of our script. And we have another one coming up June something, 13th or 14th. You can jump on and listen to how we do it. It's about 45 minutes. And if you get a couple of people, and you can invite everybody in your database to come on and listen, because even buyers will come on and listen. And then you can just have that information. It's on June 12th. And we do advertise that on some of our direct mail postcards. We advertise it also on Nextdoor. And we're getting some traction in there as well too. Nextdoor is a really inexpensive way to advertise to get some traction in there too. And we've been advertising our seller seminars and the webinars on Nextdoor as well.
What do you do on the HomeBot? I mean, there's a, click, there's every time they publish the
Yeah.
evaluation, I see the people click on it.
Yeah.
How do you follow up on those?
So I don't most of the time, except that we moved from HomeBot to Fellow, but they're pretty much the same thing. Fellow just sends it out twice a month. Is that I will go in there and just update their value in terms of what I think is correct. And you can click a button on Fellow that says email them. So is anybody using Fellow? Yeah. So it'll give you a value. You can go in and edit it and they'll email them what you think the value is. I've actually been lowering the value on a couple, but usually I leave them alone if they're higher than what I think they should be, because sometimes it's inflated. Now, our ISAs will contact some of the people. As long as they're not past clients, they leave the past clients alone with the agent. But if they're people that are in our system, they will follow up with them and just have a chat with them to see where they are. So they're actually calling them.
So just calling them.
Because they're kind of hand raisers.
Yes.
Now, you get the same people that are like your past clients who are checking every month. Yeah, you don't want to mess with those, just leave those alone. But we get a lot of those people who are checking every month. Yeah. Simple and cheap ways, which I think we're always looking for, is our open house flyers. So this is one that we did for a house in Woodson School District last week on Somerset South and Flint Ridge. And this is basically a few pictures. We advertise our open houses, and on the back, we have the sales in their neighborhood, and then an invite to join our commission webinar, invite to join our seller seminar. So we try to get about 75 to 125 of these flyers out day or two before the open houses. And you can put whatever information that you want on here, but this is a good way of just getting your word out in your neighborhood that people are gonna see, and then you're also inviting them to the seller seminar. We know that between January and April, you're gonna get more attendance. We're not getting as many, but part of the reason we're not getting as many neighbors in the open houses, we usually do 3 or 4 open houses, so it spreads out the neighbors. I think Megan Fast does a really good job of doing one neighborhood open house, and she has some folks who work for her, and they will do like the handwritten colorful notes and invite them to a neighborhood open house just for neighbors. It's like sometimes she does bagels and champagne or
We do muffins and mimosas.
yeah, muffins and mimosas and stuff like that. That's a lot better, and I hope that's similar. We're just not really good at it, but we do it by volume because we're doing usually like 12 open houses on a given weekend. So it's just spreading a lot of the
You send it by direct mail?
we hand deliver it.
Hand to.
Yeah, we drop it off at each one of the doors. So it's just legwork and takes some work. Our newest agents get to do it the most. Scott's done a bunch of them, right? Yep, so.
Jay, how do you attach them? How do you deliver them?
Scott, where do you leave them
Do
usually?
you knock on the door or you just leave it?
I do, I ring the doorbell or knock on the door, I hope that they answer, introduce myself, let them know that, hey, we're gonna be doing open house for your neighbors right around the corner here. And we would love to invite you to come by, give us your feedback, we wanna know, are we doing a great job, do we suck, we want feedback. And everyone laughs when you say, do we suck? And then after that, I just make sure they know the times, I hand them the flyer. If they're not there, then I'll roll it up and put it in the door.
Yeah. Most agents roll it up and put it in the storm door handle or slip it in. You can fold it and just slip it in or put it under the mat and hope that it's not raining.
But we did one last year in West Springfield. I'm the buyer's agent and I was just delivering flyers, and most of the neighbors were extremely happy to be invited.
Yeah.
So it's a good opportunity to just have them come to the house.
I feel like I've gotten better reception. I got a t-shirt that just says realtor across the front and just Amazon for $10 or something, and people are just like, it just kind of disarms them a little bit.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, cause they know you're not selling anything, so
Yeah.
that's good. I think no one thing of these things kind of does, the magic formula, but it's just a layered effect because most of those folks are getting our postcards monthly. They're getting invites, they're getting email updates. I would just be cautious of, not overdoing it, because I think of myself as a consumer, and I happen to make one phone call to check on what solar panels would cost and would it be a benefit in our new office building. And I am getting slammed with a bunch of phone calls from solar, like they get your information because you clicked on one thing. So I think pacing it, you don't have to be calling them every day unless they're a brand new lead. But I think for people who've been sitting there for 6 months, 12 months, 2 years in your database, you wanna just pace these things so that they get to see you in a good rhythm of, hey, you're just following up with them in a tactful way that's not going to make them angry. So those are some of the tactics that we use to work with people. The other thing that I also had our ISA send me, that I have a handout for all of you, is simple little texts and emails that they use to engage sellers who are dormant. And you can send some of these to your folks. So I'll just read you a couple of examples. And the subject line is, how much equity have you gained in 2025? And all it says is, hey, many of my clients have been reaching out because they're considering selling this year. To help, I set aside time this week to prepare updated home values. Can I prepare one for your home? P.S. I just completed a report for a client who gained $53,000 in equity in the last 12 months. I think you'll be surprised by the number. This has an open rate of 68% in an email. A really good open rate for emails is like 30 to 40%. So very simple, nothing fancy in there. And if you can get 68% open rate, that's amazing. This one has a 100% open rate, which is, the subject line is 123 Main Street. So it's their address with a little house emoji, a bag of cash emoji, let's chat. Emojis work for some reason. And it says, hey there, their name. Got your request for a home value estimate on 123 Main Street. I'm working on a custom report just for you. I wanna make sure it's spot on. Can you share any unique features or recent upgrades that you made to make your home special? This will help me create a super accurate valuation to reflect for your home's true worth. I'm excited to chat with you soon. Share a personalized report. Thanks a bunch for your help. And then the agent's name. 100% open rate. Now, keep in mind, this person did click on something that was just asking for it, so it's more immediate in terms of response. And then there are a couple of others on here. So I'll pass this around. If you're interested in something like that, you can keep a copy of it. Remember, I'm old school. I did the handouts in there. And then I'm gonna send you this just to look at, just so you all can look at it and just pass it on. And I wanna kind of open it up to any things that's working for you. I'd love to be able to learn from what's working for you all. To share. Come on, yes, yes.
So I just had a open house in Vienna 2 weekends ago, and it wasn't even my listing. It was someone else's listing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I came in a little bit earlier, and I had a bunch of signs. So like big streets I was putting, I didn't get killed, it was like a lot of traffic, but I was like diligently putting signs in every corner, I had like 5 signs in big intersections. So there's this couple in a minivan and they're following me, and I'm like, okay, this is hungry. I think it was Mother's Day.
Oh,
So I'm putting all the stuff and I come in front of the house and I'm putting, a sign in front of the house and they come out and says, well, can we come in and look at it? And I'm like, of course, come on in. And we're a little bit early, it doesn't matter, so I let them in. And they say, we are actually looking to sell, but we've never seen an agent put so many signs, so we followed you. We wanted to see who you are and what you do, so to make the long story
Yeah.
short, we talked, but I have a listing appointment coming up.
How many signs did you put up?
5 on big intersections.
Okay. Okay,
Not
good.
even a ton,
Yeah.
but they were impressed because they said it was in Vienna, and they say, well, we live here for so many
Yeah.
years and we never see agents and we want to see who you are. So
So
signs
signs,
work.
yeah. Signs are simple. What else are you all doing? Yeah.
I did a Zoom seller seminar also and didn't get a lot of RSVPs, but got 2 past clients replying to the email saying, sorry, I couldn't come, can you send me the recording? And then had listing appointments from both of them. So it's just a good way of discovering who it is
Yeah.
in your database that
Yeah.
needs to sell. And there's a lot of, like, almost all of my listings now are job relocations. So the biggest mistake you can make is assuming that somebody is not ready to move yet, right? Because you're like, oh, they've only been there a year or 2. You know, people are getting relocated either by choice or not by choice.
Mm-hmm.
And so you've gotta have a way of prompting them to reach back out to you.
Where did you, was that through, Constant Contact or something, you sent an email?
Yeah.
What was the lead time leading up to you doing the Zoom seller seminar?
I will say, I don't think we did a good job at all of promoting it. So it was just them knowing that it happened and,
Yeah.
oh, sorry, I couldn't make it,
Yeah.
can you send me the recording?
Yeah.
You know, and then me saying yes, and then, of course, it'll be better if I come by, so.
We have a seller seminar tonight at 5, and we do 17 of them throughout the year, and we have 40 people signed up. So we'll get like between 26 and 28 people who will show up to that. We're getting a little fewer now, but what I notice if we're looking at the list, Nicole and I look at the marketing stuff all the time, is that they're new people. We used to get a bunch of people that were already had attended a seller seminar a year and a half ago, but we're getting a lot of new people in that group, which is great. So they're not already connected with agents on the team, so. And if you ever wanna attend one of our seller seminars, just reach out to me and you can be a guest and sit in the back where Jen is back there and just, watch, and observe in terms of what we do. If you wanna attempt to do a seller seminar, we worked really hard on, making our slides and script. Nicole worked really hard on making the slides. And if you want a template that you can change and copy and make it your own, you're welcome to do that as well too. I'm glad to share that with you in terms of the Canva. And we do change it up probably every 5 or 6 months because we wanna have different properties, different messages, like we've added in since the commission settlement, like discussion of examples of what's happening with the commission, impact on the federal government. Some of you team leaders, I sent you an email on, are you using the MLS Bright research information on weekly stats of new listings, canceled listings, price drops, and that's really important to see, and we do share that in our seller seminars and also our commission webinar too. What other things are you using at work?
Yeah, I just got a lead from a webinar, couldn't make it, so they called.
Yeah, there you go.
Thinking about selling the tunnel.
Yeah, yeah. And the good thing about the webinar is that a solo agent can do it.
Yeah.
So you can do it and you can send it out. You can watch, I have a recording of our last webinar, right? So if you're curious and you wanna do it, just reach out to me. Most of you have my contact information. I'll send you a copy of the recording of how we did it. Last time we've had 60 some people sign up for the first one, 40 some people in the second one. The third one we had low sign up, right? And we were talking about canceling it. Like, was it 8 people or 12 people?
Well, 8 people that weren't like our team members.
Right,
But we pre-made the questions.
Yeah.
And just said, oh, we had this question sent
Yeah.
in.
and then when you do the webinar, you can set your settings so that people can't see how many people are there.
Yeah.
The first one, we had like 40, 50 people, we set the settings where they could ask questions, and also they could see how many people were on the webinar. And the last one, we didn't have that many people, so we hit it, and then we answered questions that we pulled from ChatGPT, you pulled from ChatGPT. We're like, oh, somebody asked a question, and then we just answered that question, so. And then, like I said, you can take that recording, and then you can set it up, I don't know how to do it, but somebody knows how, where they can click on it and say, hey, watch a pre-recorded one or come to our next webinar. We haven't gotten to that point, but that's our plan, is that somebody could come on, and then we can capture their information, because for them to see the recording, they're gonna have to give us their contact information.
This is Zoom you're using?
We're using Webinar Jam. No?
No, we're using Zoom webinar, so it's a
Zoom
different,
webinar.
it's Zoom, but it's a different part of Zoom.
In the old one we did, during COVID, we did
did
Webinar
Jam
Jam, but
originally,
now
yeah.
it's a Zoom webinar, so.
Yeah.
It has some nice functionality with it, and, I don't, Kwong on our team sets it all up. I
Yeah,
just show up
it's a
and
little
start
different than
talking.
regular, and if you want an evergreen, you have to use their reservation system, cause usually we use Eventbrite for other things, but for that, if you want it to be an evergreen, you have to use them for their
Mhm.
scheduling.
Yeah,
For the 100,000 mailers that you send out every month, like what's your response rate and how do you like sort the people that you mail to?
so it's EDDM, so it just goes to everyone. So everyone in Annandale, Burke, Springfield, Fairfax, Fairfax Station. And then we did start up, we stopped Clifton for a little while. We did start up in Clifton in the larger lots. So we're not mailing into Little Rocky Run, so not to worry. And then we added, like the Rose Hill area of Alexandria, we added 22042 in Falls Church. And we're sending a different message in there. A lot of times it is just, hey, here's one side of it and here's the other side of it that we do on our postcards, and we just change up pretty much the same message, but it's always an invite to our seller seminar. Sometimes we'll include sales in their neighborhoods in that area, but it's always a consistent effort to try to get them in the door. And then people call us regularly just to meet with them because they see this all the time. Our other messaging is called the Easy Home Sale, and we offer to buy their home, or they can do the other part, which is to meet with a professional agent. Almost none of those we're gonna buy their home, but it could get us in the door in those. And I know, Ryan and Damon, you guys have done some cash offer things that have turned into listings, right? So
Yep.
those do work too. You just have to be consistent with whatever you're gonna do.
One thing, may I make a comment on your postcard?
Yeah.
For me, I mean, you know, there are lots of us are seniors. The fonts are a little too small.
Oh, yeah. It's cause we're trying to
It's
put,
hard, yeah, do you have
put too much on there.
information?
We always debate on that,
So,
yeah.
you know, I'm looking at it, but I need a magnifying glass, not a reading glass to read.
Me too. Yeah, we're not good about the white space, you know, in the cards, cause we're trying to just put too much in there.
Yeah, I think, you know,
So,
too much
yeah.
sometimes is.
Yeah, the return on investment on direct mail cards, gang, it takes years. And, you know, the ROI on it, when we look at the marketing statistics, we used to be below 1-to-1 return. Now I think we're at like 1.3. But what we do is having listings is important, and then when you have listings, you get to do open houses, you get sign calls. So in the past year, Jen and Peyton pushed the agents on the open houses. We've sold 93 houses from open house leads in the past 12 months. So if you don't have the listings, you can't do open houses. So we see it as that's part of it. Then you don't get to do signs, and if you don't see signs, the neighbors aren't gonna call you. So we get to see signs in the neighborhoods. So you look at it and you go, oh, I sent out this many direct mail postcards and I've spent this many thousands and I haven't gotten the calls. even if it drops off, we will continue to do it because it gets listings. And you want listings, and if you look at all the agents who've lasted in this business for decades, some people who should have retired many, many years ago, they still stay in the business listing houses because you want those listings and they, you list to last. So those of you who are mainly working with buyers, you wanna continue to develop what the listings are. Like Carla on our team, I think, has had more listings this year than as a buyer's agent. That's just because she's been in the business a long time and she's not on the listing team, but she might as well be now, she's doing so many. Yeah.
Well, and all the more reason for those agents to do a seller seminar like this, because if you primarily help buyers, remember, your clients think of you as a buyer's agent.
Yeah.
They may not even know that you can list homes,
Yeah.
which is crazy for us to think about, but I do hear that sometimes.
Mhm.
So you've gotta position yourselves in their mind as the obvious choice for listing their house, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, Carla asked me for the template on the Zestimate things because she wants to send that out to all her past clients now. Cause she's seeing this as, hey, this is easy business for them to come in. And, on our team, we sell about 97% of the houses that we list. How many of you can say that about the buyers if you're working with that many buyers, or 97% of your buyers actually going to buy? So that's the difference really in terms of buyers and sellers. What other ideas are you
I realized they didn't
using
make
that's
them.
working?
Oh, thank you.
Oh, somebody was hogging all those?
Yeah, it seems like we want them.
Anyone else need them? I don't think we got those.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought they went through.
Oh, it's okay, all good. We only got one, right?
What else do you need?
I think this side just got this one.
I got a free roll of
Seller
stamps for
images
somebody who wants to
template.
share an idea on a listing.
There's this, and this is just being shared,
Oh, okay.
Can I see the share?
This is
Yeah.
actually a lesson that I learned again.
Yeah.
I had a listing, and during the presentation of listing presentation, my suggested price was about 50,000 less than what seller wanted to be listed. So, because I listened so many marketing and the coaching, videos and webinar, I said, okay, this is your house, and
Yeah.
sellers is very savvy, so, I agree, okay, we will wait for 2 weeks
Yeah.
before we lower the price, and that time, there was not many listings, so we were in an advantage of putting that house in the market, but, buyers are much savvier than sellers, so we ended up getting my ballpark
Yeah.
figure at the first offer, which was 50,000 less than what my seller wanted, and they rejected it. So after that, we ended up with the 3 listings. It just never came to that. It never came to my suggested price
Right.
after that.
Yeah.
So I just wished I kind of was a little more insistent upon,
Pricing,
pricing that. And now they sold it less than,
what they could have, yeah.
so that was a, lesson learned.
We have a few of those like that too, so. I do think it's important that we never had to do this, I mean, depending on how long you've been doing it, but, I'm gonna just share with you the MLS stats. I should have logged into Zoom, but I think you'll be able to see this on my Surface. If you aren't already using this feature in MLS Bright that they've come up with this year, I think I would highly recommend that you use it. So in MLS in here, see this thing, it says research across the top. I'm sorry, but across the top it says research. And you go into research, weekly stats.
Mm-hmm.
And go to download full report. In here. And it'll have the Washington DC area. And you scroll down into about the page 40 something. And it'll share with you for our region, how many new listings that week, how many canceled, how many did price drops, what's the showing activity? And I was just having a conversation with my seller in Orange Hunt who wants to overprice their house right up the road from where you guys just sold one. And I was just showing them how the showing activity is way down, how many people have dropped their price. So she wanted to price at $850. I wanted to price at $799. Sound familiar? We agreed at $715.
$8.15.
Oh, $850.
I was like, wow, you're really good
$715. You
at
guys will go out
Wow.
there. I didn't know I was that good. But these stats are really, really good that, those of you who have VAs, you could just have them pull this up every week and send it to you so that you could share it with your clients who are getting ready to go on the market, so that they could see what the stats are. Or if you have people who are on the market for a couple of weeks and you have that conversation with them, just, hey, this is what's happening on the marketplace. Yeah.
I had some sellers who just got under contract, but we were months in the making because we had to do a lot to get their listing ready and wait for some patio doors to come in. And knowing my seller, because he was a former buyer, I sent him these reports almost every single week.
Yeah.
He's a data guy, right?
Yeah.
He's been so stressed out about tariffs and the whatever,
Yeah.
do we retire and everything, and so they wanted to similarly overprice their home. And so I think having this in his head for weeks and months on end, we kind of met in the middle, and it ended up working out, thankfully, famously
Yeah.
for them. But
Yeah.
it could have gone a different direction if we hadn't like set that expectation and future pace
Right.
them on what's actually happening out there.
Mhm. Yeah.
The stat I see that is so amazing for Washington DC, canceled listings compared to a year ago are up 112%.
Yeah.
So
Last
think
week it
about
was
how you could-
98%.
So think of how you could use that in a listing appointment, right?
Yeah.
If you told that statistic to the seller, and then you talked about, you went one by one on how you're gonna do your best to make sure that
Yeah.
doesn't happen, and you talk about all the different things
Yeah.
that you do to prevent this, that could get you the listing right there versus somebody else who doesn't bring this up.
Yeah.
Who-
Just be the knowledge broker. I mean, you don't wanna be a Debbie Downer on the situation when you're trying to acquire the listing. But I think getting them realistic about price, or if another agent's gone in and told them 100,000 more, that being realistic with them about that too. So it's, once you get the listing, you wanna make sure that it's positioned and priced appropriately for the market. Any final ideas? Cause food is smelling really good, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, play with the stats and look at them every week. It's really good. And this is, I think, new this year that Bright's putting out, or I just never noticed it before. And we started paying attention as the increase in inventory.
You don't use a hot sheet?
No,
Oh.
I don't even know what that is. Yeah.
Is there any breakdown for like, is it just DMV, or is there any breakdown for Virginia?
Right MLS.
I think it's just for the DMV, but it stays with the counties all close to us.
But
There
it
is
does
a-
include Maryland, so.
It does, yeah. There is one that just looks at Fairfax County, because I think overall, we've been hearing the statistics in DMV that we're up 52% in inventory, but in Fairfax County, it's closer to 25%. But I also feel like, I don't know if you all are seeing it, but in Fairfax County, I think we're more impacted by the federal government changes than other counties.
Right.
Because we have more people who work for the federal government here. Yeah.
You asked for listing tips.
Yeah.
I can't complete this idea yet, but I was on a listing appointment last week, and the sellers called me. They had their house listed with another agent, but they called me because a friend referred them.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't selling, and they needed to sell quickly, and so I knew it was like EXP Express Offers, or
Yes.
what is it called? Express Offers. And I didn't realize that I was like, okay, let me go get you an offer for this. I don't know if there's like a certification training program, so if you're not certified, or I don't know the right term for that, so I just found out I need to get certified for that, to add that as a tool in your back
Yeah.
pocket on a listing.
Yeah.
But also that could help you get in the door, like Jay said.
Yeah.
Sometimes why people don't do cash offer marketing is like, well, I can't buy it cash. If you have a
Yeah,
partner
that-
who
yeah.
can,
Yeah.
or an investor who can.
And we do too.
Yeah.
Jin, who was sitting back there, he's done calls with our agents on FaceTime, that if they want an offer, they show it through and then he'll produce an offer.
Wow.
And most of the time it's, hey, this isn't gonna be what you would get market price. So he's trying to change it into a listing, because it's mostly they're not gonna accept an offer 200,000 below their asking. So, if you do, I wanna go back to Andrew. We partnered with him on a couple of flips too, so if you run across an opportunity and you wanna flip, you can talk to us about it. Andrew has flipped like 5 or 6 houses with our team, and then he hands it back to you to list. And because he's a contractor, the margins aren't as big as like a regular investor. So, you know, when we look at the numbers that we could offer, we can't offer the prices that he can. So just keep that in mind for Andrew as well too. He's always looking for those opportunities. He just bought one of our listings that was coming to market that needed a ton of work. And then he'll fix it up and then he'll hand it back to us to list it. So he's done some of those with us too. So keep in mind for somebody like that, if you wanna create some listing opportunities and you don't wanna do it, or the margins aren't there for you, it might work for him. So, because he's doing work at cost. in there. And you get to be the listing agent, yes.
So Jay, with that opportunity for the contractor to fix it, does it work like Curvia? What if people don't have money to pay?
He can, he was explaining, I think the way he does it, which is 10%. So there's a markup of 10%. So let's say it's a $40,000 renovation. If the seller has 20,000, then the seller pays 10% on 20,000. So it's a $2,000, expense that they can pay at settlement. So it's a pretty fair deal. It would just be tough if you're doing like an $80,000 renovation, because that adds 8,000 more to it. But if we think about the ROI return, if you go in there and redo the houses, they're gonna certainly get more than the 80,000 plus the 8,000 back. We're usually seeing almost a 200% return back on whatever people invest in houses.